Alrighty guys, welcome to another tutorial. I just thought I would jump on and show you this one myself because it's really simple and it really does teach you a few fundamental skills that you do need for using Photoshop effectively. You're going to be doing a lot of typography this term and you'll need it for next term for some of the projects that we have coming up. So this is a great little hack that you can use that teaches you about layers and clipping masks and all sorts of things like that. Before we get started, there are a couple of websites I just want to show you how to use before you jump into Photoshop today. So if you jump on the internet, there are two websites. The very first one I want to show you is this one called DaFont.com. DaFont.com is a really great website that helps you to download tons of free fonts that your computer doesn't already have that you can use in your typography on Photoshop. But before we pick our font, I want you to think about what picture you would like to use. So the website you can use to get really high quality, great images for you to edit with and to play with while you're doing all of your Photoshop tasks is called Unsplash. Now, you can search for anything. So before you do this task, I want you to think of a theme. You could even use one of your own photographs of a family member and you can use their name. I chose to do a surf theme before, so maybe let's do one to do with snow sports. So let's see what we can find. So just jump in the search bar and you've got lots of images that pop up. Let's be more specific. Let's just say snowboarding. Here we go. Some really great images. Now, when you're doing this kind of thing, you want to have some feature in the middle of your words that pops through. So I'm thinking I liked this photo up here. Really dynamic. I love the colors of it. So you click on it and all you do is you hit download free and it should jump straight into your downloads down here. Super awesome, really easy. Oh, don't know why that popped up. Great. So we have this image here ready to go for you to edit. Now, what you need to think about is what font is going to suit the style of the typography design that you want to create. So jumping over under font, there are tons of fonts and categories for you to pick in. I like to stick around the basic fonts because even though they sound basic, they are I think they're more sophisticated and more slick, but there is plenty that you can choose to use. You want to have one that's quite thick when it comes to doing this kind of design so you can actually have space for your word to go. So you can go through and you can click on all these categories and have a little look. Let's just go fire and ice because we are doing something to do with snow. So maybe we could go with this one here called Frostbite. And a great way for you to actually preview to see what it'll actually look like when you use your own words. You can use this little preview box down here, not the search box. That's the thing that most students get mixed up with. Go to the preview here and let's just write snow in all caps and see how things look. So as you can see, yeah, I actually quite like the way that one there looks. And I also like this ice one here. Just had a bit of an interruption there. Sorry, I apologize. But what I was saying was that I'm really liking these fonts. So I think I'm going to pick this one here. So you hit the download button and again, it will download. Now, the thing you need to remember with using downloaded fonts is that you have to install them first and you'll need to restart whatever app you were using before it's able to be used. So to install your fonts, it's really quite simple. You open up your zip file. And it should open up a folder where you can access the OTF and TTF files. So this little README here just explains the copyrights and when not you can't use this. In this situation, if you're just using it for yourself or you're not selling anything with this font on it, it's totally fine. It's just free for personal use, as it says over the side here. So you don't need to worry about that one. What I would do though is I'd double click on the other files. So they open up and they will open up in an app you might not have used before called Fontbook. Now, all you do for both of those is you will install them. Sometimes you get a whole variety of the font, like you might get the italic version and the bold version and the thin version, but I find with artistic fonts like this, they are quite simple. And you can see here that they are now installed in our book, Fontbook. So we should be all good because I had Photoshop closed. So let's go ahead and open it up and get started with the tutorial itself. Alrighty, Photoshop has opened up now, and so I'm just going to show you some real basics of opening Photoshop up and getting yourself started on a blank canvas document. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this create new button right here, and you have a whole heap of saved templates and saved dimensions that you can choose to use depending on where you're uploading your file. Generally, an easy way to go when you're just starting out is just by opening up yourself an A4 document. Over on the side here, you can change your preferences. So I'm going to call this Snow Typography. And you can choose whether you want it to be portrait or landscape. You can pick how it's measured, and you can really customize everything here, including the color of your background. But we'll worry about that later. So go ahead and hit create, and you should open up a blank canvas on Photoshop. The first thing we want to do is we want to unlock our background, because we are going to be using it eventually, and if you've used Photoshop at any point, you'll know that backgrounds come locked. So just hit away the little lock button, and it becomes a blank usable layer. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to type out our text the way that we want it. On Photoshop, you need to remember that everything needs to be on separate layers. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my text, and it should automatically create a new layer when I click on it. So you can go ahead and pick whether you want it to be horizontal or whether you want it to be a vertical type tool. I would like mine to be vertical right now. You can change that later, it's all good, and I'm just going to type the word snow straight in there. What you need to do is make sure you're hitting the selection tool when you want to drag things around, because all of these tools do different things. So if you ever want to move something around, double check you're on the right layer for starters, and that you've got the selection tool in works. Now, to edit it again, I'm just going to center it. To edit it again and to change the font, I'm going to go ahead and click on the text tool because I want to edit the text, and I am going to click on top of it, hit select all, and I'm going to find that font, which, nope, can be a little fiddly sometimes. I'm going to find that font which was called Frostbite. There we go. Oh, Frostbite. There we go. That's the one. And you can see already that it's gotten a lot larger. I would like to make it even bigger still, so I can type in some random large numbers until it's about the size that I want. Or you can go to the select tool button and you can go Command T, and that's to transform it. Hitting down the shift button, you can change the size of it so that it's a little bit skewed, or you can release the shift button and it will stay the same dimensions, which is what I want. And that will automatically change the size of the text. Once you're happy with the size of it, I'm going to make mine just a little bigger. We're going to hit return, and there you go. I'm just going to center it up, and we are ready to go with the next phase. Now, the next thing you want to do is super simple, but we're going to create something that's called a clipping mask. And that means that any picture we put on top is going to fit the mask of the shape that is underneath it. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can do it a long way by opening the photo in files and dragging it across. Simple way to add a photo in Photoshop is simply by grabbing it from your desktop or a folder and dragging and dropping it on top. Now, whenever you do that, it will automatically have it on transform. You can see here that we've got the size that you can edit. We're not going to worry about that right now, but you won't be able to do anything until you set the size, and to do that, you just hit return and it locks it in place. Now, to create a clipping mask, you're simply going to right click on the mask itself, so that's control click, and you're going to scroll down to where it says create clipping mask and hit click on that one. And automatically straight away what that's done is you can see this little arrow here, and that means it's going to mask over whatever the layer is underneath it. And the cool thing about a clipping mask is with your selection tool in place, you can drag it around until you like what you can see. I quite like that the way it is, but you could also, if you wanted to, change the size of it and move it around until you're happy with what you get. But to be honest, I think that looked good the way it was before. Hit return to get out of the transform tool, and we have this design. Now, there are a few things we can add to it just to make it stand out a little bit more and make it look a little bit unique. So what I would do is you can double click on the text layer itself, and you have all these different things you can do that edit the picture itself. You got things like bevel and emboss that make it stand out. I'm going to go with, though, an inner shadow to kind of make it look like it's dropped behind. So once you click on the inner shadow itself, you can pick how bold and intense the shadow is. I think I like that one. You can choose how long the shadow is. I think I like it a little bit more subtle. And you can also pick the angle that the shadow is coming in from. So I think I want more of like a angle from the side. Or let's just go with that for now. There are plenty of other things you can play with and do that in your own time. Hit OK and we have that setting done. The final thing I'm just going to show you to do is how to change the color of this background here. So what you can do is you can jump on your layer by double clicking it and have all these settings come up as well. But to change the color, we just come over to our color palette down here and we double click, and what we can do is we can either drag and we can change the color this way by picking the saturation and the tint of your color. Or what I like to do is use the eyedropper tool, and that takes actual colors from the picture itself and we can change it to the background. So I'm just going to try a couple different things and see what I like best. So let's go with this darker blue color for starters, and then we're going to go grab our fill bucket tool, make sure it's the paint bucket tool, and we're going to paint, making sure we're on the correct layer, straight on top. Now that makes this stand out heaps, but I think I want it to look a little bit lighter. So let's jump back to here, double clicking on my color, and I'm going to go with like an almost white, I think. And let's just, got the paint bucket tool selected, got the right layer selected, drop it on, and something like that. It's a lot more subtle, and you guys can play around with what colors you think work best. You also could try maybe for a contrasting color if that's what you wanted. I don't know, this is gonna not look very good, I don't think, but yeah, oh, that's super intense. So something a lot more simple. I could make my word stand out more by increasing my shadows, by adding my more drop shadows, by adding more of an emboss. There's plenty you can do. Have a little fiddle around, but I really like the really simple, slick design that this kind of thing creates. Don't forget to go ahead and save it by going Command S and saving it somewhere that you won't lose, and you are pretty much done. What I would like you to do though is to go ahead now and pick your own word, find your own picture on Unsplash, download a font, install it all, and see what kind of typography you can come up with.